Hi there, my name is Amanda Kaufman,
And I'm Chris Lavelle.
and you are listening to the Crush Method Show. Join us each week for ideas to help you move your coaching business forward into service of others faster and with better results.
We're committed to professionalism and coaching, and we want to help you get it done.
Hey, welcome back to the bonus round of our myth-busting series for starting a successful coaching business.
Absolutely. So we've been through 1 through 4. This is myth number 5, and it's about the myth of self-sacrifice and the hustle.
The hustle and the grind. I'm so excited. And before we get into that, if you missed any of the other myths, I strongly recommend that you go check them out at amandakaufman.net. That's KAUFMAN.net/blog. And you will see all of the other myths laid out for you there. But stick with us for today because this one's pretty important.
And you know, you've got a really good story about this kind of hustle that you went through in self-sacrifice.
Oh my gosh.
It's an awesome story, and it took 2 to tango on this one.
It did. So this is actually an example where hustle really helped. So when I started my coaching business, I first was like kind of grasping at straws, like I think we all do. And I was trying to do a lot of automation and funnels and, learn all the stuff, try to get all the stuff into my brain all in one day kind of thing.
That rapid drinking from the fire hose kind of stuff.
I really, really was. And then I received coaching that helps me kind of right my ship and learn how to prioritize the right first things first. And by the way, in case you're wondering what those are, have an amazing offer, learn how to sell it, then worry about your marketing.
Yeah.
So what happened was I learned how to have conversations with people live in person. And I was able to spark enough of those conversations that I was able to fill my coaching practice. Pretty cool story, right?
Yep.
There's a dark truth. When I was, I think we all do this, right? We get really successful with something and I was like, yes, now I can go and do the digital marketing
Now it's
thing
time to market.
because I'm good at this other thing and now I'm going to go do something completely new and different that's unproven, untested, and unlikely, unfortunately, to make me a lot of money up front.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened was I got in a cash crunch.
Yep.
It happens in every business. There's a great book called The E-Myth. It describes perfectly what happens when a technician, like a coach, goes out and starts figuring out how to do business and things kind of start cooking and then they kind of get distracted and start doing other things other than the main thing.
Yep.
And anyway, so I was in panic mode. I talked to all my coaches at the time and came up with this harebrained scheme of I was going to do 90 events in 90 days.
A 90-day sprint.
Yes. And the reason is because I realized that meeting people in person was more powerful and effective to getting people to be willing to have a conversation with me about my coaching services. And so if I could just go to more events, meet more people, then I'd fill up my practice, right?
It actually worked, and she knew it was something that worked. So she had something proven that worked. She had moved away from it, and now she went back to the thing that worked for that 90-day sprint.
Which meant taking my digital marketing hopes and dreams, putting them on a shelf for a minute so that I could focus on the main thing, which was surviving in the business.
Yep.
I needed to make sure that we were generating enough revenue to offset the expense and the cost of doing this because of course by this time I was no longer in a job. I didn't have other sources of income that were going to subsidize and he was hating his job more and more every day.
Yeah, I was ready to move on too.
Oh my goodness. So there was just all this energy going on in our household at this time where it was just like it was do or die time. So that, and I don't mean literally die, but the business was really kind of like I had to figure it out. And so that hustle in that moment was so powerful because by putting aside everything else and being very focused on meeting people and talking people and connecting with people, etc., it allowed me to have more conversations than I can actually handle. And what happened was I didn't fill up my practice, but it wasn't for the reason that you think. The main reason that I didn't fill up my practice was because I literally couldn't deal with all the people I was meeting every day in a systematized way. So I ended up meeting people and not being able to follow up with them because I was already at the next event before I could do the proper follow up with the other people. I didn't have enough space in my calendar to receive all of these amazing leads that I was getting, which is a new problem and a better problem than I'm not talking to anybody about my coaching business.
It certainly is a better problem. But you know, one of the things you mentioned there is actually takeaway number one for this myth busting, and that is that a sprint, like a 90-day sprint like Amanda just suggested, is a great way to focus your energy for a period of time. And that's exactly what she just described here. For 90 days, she focused on a process that had worked for her, helped her get past the crunch she was in, and helped her get set up for her next stage. And it doesn't have to be a bad experience. In fact, that's one thing I would share. We worked as a team, for example, to help make sure that she stayed energized and ready throughout that 90 days so that she could focus on it. And she took some time, as you'll hear in one of the other takeaways, to help make sure she kept her A game in place.
So good. You know, he was so gracious. I was getting on airplanes. I was going to events around the country. I was like really, really committed to this 90-day hustle kind of period.
Oh, yeah.
And here's what I will share with you. Even though I didn't fill my practice in the 90 days, I filled it very shortly after the 90 days because here's what else happened. Because I was so focused on getting good at meeting people and talking to people and inviting them to conversations, I got better at it.
Yeah.
So then when I was kind of slowed my burn a little bit and I went into kind of a more normal systemized way of approaching things, I was able to get those next couple of clients, filled up my practice, right?
Because she had become a ninja at those techniques she had been practicing for 90 days. In fact, I'll even go so far as to say she had built a bit of a foundation that she could then work from. And you know, she mentioned just a moment ago, she was not having time initially for that follow-up to the people she was meeting. That led to one of her earlier discoveries of a program she calls Follow It Up to Set It Up. FUPS-up. And that's something that she's used very effectively and teaches to others in some of our programs to help them become a ninja too.
I would go so far as to say it's a critical business process for us is the follow up and set it up process. And we use it lots of different places, not just for sales. For example, we've been doing a market research survey and we're doing these interviews with people that are literally just interviews. We have nothing to sell in these conversations. We're just learning what it is that our audience really needs to be successful and what they believe is the big problem that they're facing so that I can be better in how I communicate the marketing. If they want to continue to have conversations with us, then, you know, great. But just having those conversations on the interviews is so powerful. So what are we doing? We're following up and making sure that those interviews are happening. And we use the exact same process to do that. Now, here's the big lesson, right? The system and the consistency of following up and making sure that is happening is really the big secret sauce. It's not about 18-hour days. It's not about going to an event every single day, but it is about making sure that you have processes in place to meet people, more people, new people all the time, talk to people, no point in meeting a bunch of people that you have no intention of talking to ever again, and inviting the right people at the right time to be able to have a conversation about, hey, can I help you in a more significant way with the services that I offer?
Well, absolutely. Well, that scrappy kind of early self-sacrifice hustle that Amanda was describing is a great way to get things started. But like she just highlighted, if you want to be able to continue it over the long term, it's that automation, that process, that's really what helps you consistently show up without burning out. And that kind of brings us to point number 3. And point number 3 is you have to kind of be able to maintain yourself. If you're working on burnout because you're doing 90-day sprint after 90-day sprint without a rest or a recovery or managing your own energy, you're going to wind up in adrenal fatigue. You're going to wind up burned out and unable to show up and perform the way you want for yourself, for your business, for the ones you love, and those you want to serve.
Another one of my mentors is Sam Ovens, and I just recently read an article that he talked about scaling and repairing as being like this dynamic system. So the idea is like when you grow and you push, you tend to create some mess. You might even get into some debt because you are investing so much at that stage. And he talked about in his own career how, and he's like prolific, okay? This dude, he has set up an empire of making $20 million a year, and he did it by the age of 27. So it's like very, very, very high performer. And I really took to heart this idea that, you know, if you did a 90-day sprint that was a big push, like my 90 events in 90 days, what I didn't talk about until like really literally just now is the next 90 days was all about setting up the systems that I discovered were missing in the early 90 days. So it's
Yep.
kind of like what Sam was saying in the article that I read earlier today. It's like there's this expansion, contract, expand, contract, expand, contract. So instead of always like expand, 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 what ends up happening is you have so much chaos, so much exhaustion, so
Things
much
crash.
it literally can show up in your finances. It can show up everywhere. So I think like having that ebb and flow and like grow, clean up. That's a really, really great idea if you're planning 90-day cadences in a row. Systemize, grow. Systemize, grow. I love that.
It's kind of like the cadence in nature. Spring, everything's growing. Summer, it slows down because it's hot. Fall, new things kind of grow or
love
get ready
that.
for the winter. Then the winter, they kind of rest and go to sleep to get ready for the spring again.
Yeah. Seasons, man.
Seasons.
That's pretty
Seasons
cool.
in your business, absolutely. And
That's
sometimes the season's a sprint, and sometimes it's a recovery.
And if you're finding that the only season you're experiencing in your business is winter,
Or sprint.
or you're just like in a hot heat of summer all the time, but you're worried you might be flaming out soon, you should definitely let us know. Just drop a comment or drop by amandakaufman.net and ask for a 15-minute quick chat. We're happy to help with that if that is something that you need.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
Thanks for joining us for our 5 myths.
yes, and you know what? Because just to celebrate you being here for the 5th myth, I'm really excited to share with you a very special download. And this download is going to basically help you with seeing where you're at in your hustle. Like, are you balanced, right? And experiencing great balance? Or are you feeling a little pain in certain areas of life that maybe need some attention over your next 90 days? So this will just be a great worksheet to kind of calibrate where you are and decide where you want to focus for the next 3 months.
Oh, I can't wait. I didn't even know that was coming. That's awesome. I got surprised too.
So you can download that anywhere that you find this video. If you're listening to us on the podcast, be sure to check out the show notes and you'll be able to get access to that download. And it's just a free gift from us.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us for these myths. Enjoy the free upgrade content there that Amanda was just talking about, and we'll see you again soon.
On that note, we want to thank you so much for tuning in.
Can you please do us a favor? Please go ahead and subscribe to our show. And if you would please take a moment and rate and leave a review of our podcast, it'll really help folks find us.
And if you're a coach who is building your practice, go check out www.thecrushmethod.com to find our latest free trainings and worksheets for coaches committed to making this crazy world of ours a better place.